So the Nintendo Switch OLED model and the launch of Metroid Dread has come and gone, but we still have a ton of other exciting new developing Nintendo Switch stories that I want to share with you guys today. The first of which being around a couple new collection packs that we have talked about on the channel previously that are getting their official announcement. And we also have to do a quick update on GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, as it is sounding more and more like we can actually expect these to be a physical release, maybe as soon as December of this year. Then I also want to cover the amazing strong start that Metroid Dread has had so far in the sales numbers, specifically in the UK region, and what that can mean for the longer launch of the game as we go forward. And then a big story around Pokemon Legends Arceus has broken, as we now know to expect that maybe this game isn't as open world as we once thought. And the big talking point for today's video is we now have a major new development when it comes to Nintendo Switch Online support, specifically around N64 and how the games will run on your Switch. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. As I mentioned, guys, we're actually covering quite a few different stories today, as there's just a lot of new information floating around when it comes to Nintendo Switch stories, some of which I want to update you guys on to start off with are actually some games that we've talked about here on the channel before, starting with the Star Wars combo packs that will actually be sold on November 16th, and we can now confirm from Aspyr themselves that they will be sold as physical releases, which is great because that is definitely how I would plan on picking these up, and I definitely will get one. I don't know that I'll get both, but the new information that we have is that these are Star Wars combo packs for existing games that are already available on the Nintendo Switch, but these will be their first time sold at this price in a combo collection. So the two different bundles that you can get are the following. You can get the Jedi Knight collection with Jedi Outcast and Jedi Knight Academy for the $29.99, or you can get the Star Wars Racer and Commando combo with Star Wars Racer and Star Wars Republic Commando. So both of these at $29.99 does seem like a good price, considering that you're getting, especially those Jedi games are definitely some fan favorites and some classics. I definitely have nostalgia for Star Wars Racer myself, as you know, I played through that game originally the first time on the N64. I'm not as into Republic Commando, but I could see it being a fun playthrough. It's just, I like third-person experiences more than a first-person experience, and I don't know all of the mechanics of the games, and I know it's kind of strategy-based as well. The graphics for it being on the Switch actually do look decent, so it's one that might be worth checking out. I'll probably for sure pick up the Jedi one myself, the Jedi combo pack that is. So I would love to hear from you guys if you have any interest in these Star Wars combo packs, and if you'll be picking them up physically at release on November 16th for that $29.99 price. So make sure you share that in the comments down below. And now next up, I want to update you guys around Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition. As you know, if you've been around on the channel, we've definitely been talking about this game, as these are going to be some great classic Grand Theft Auto games that will be making their way to the Nintendo Switch for the first time. And it now sounds like we have some good information to point to maybe a physical release as soon as December of this year. So I want to quickly hop over to VGC, where they break down the information that's been reported upon and where these claims are coming from. But it does sound like we have at least a shot of these things being a physical release and being released in December. GTA Trilogy Remaster set for December box release. Retail sources point to last-gen physical arrival before Christmas. Digital details unconfirmed. Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition remasters will be released physically in December, it's been claimed. That's according to retail sources who told the Polish publication PPE that the 3-game collection will indeed receive a boxed release, but only the last-gen versions will arrive before Christmas. PS4, Xbox One, and Switch versions will release physically on December 7th, the site sources claims, with the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S editions arriving sometime next year. Officially, Rockstar has only said that the collection will release later this year for consoles and PC, followed by mobile in 2022. The physical dates, if accurate, don't necessarily rule out an earlier digital release for GTA, the trilogy, and the reliable industry insider Tom Henderson recently claimed Rockstar was aiming for November. Now, there's also some talk around price for this trilogy that's going around online right now, and it does seem like, at least from the rumor mill speculation talk, that maybe these next-gen versions, as far as the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, may actually be sold at maybe like Sony's $70 price tag, or at least a $60 price tag. So these very well may be full price releases, but you know, it's been such a long time since we've had the ability to play these games, you know, at least in new resolution, higher up res textures and things like that. I guess you can actually play these like on the PS4 if if you own that, or I think even the Xbox One may support them. But you know, it's one of those things that for gamers who haven't gotten to go back and experience these, especially Nintendo Switch gamers, because you know, over the entire history of Nintendo consoles, we really haven't seen traditional Grand Theft Auto releases make their way over to Nintendo consoles. This will definitely be one that I'll be picking up. If it's a full $60 release, it'll make me think twice about it just a little bit. But you know, I have nostalgia specifically for Vice City and San Andreas. I'm not really as big of a fan of Grand Theft Auto 3, but 2 out of the 3 games that I could see myself actually replaying through the story and then just kind of having some ridiculous fun. I do hope, like somebody commented in one of the last videos when we talked about this, that hopefully the cheat codes are still enabled in there, and that would be awesome because I would love to do some ridiculous stuff on the Nintendo Switch, and I always enjoyed Grand Theft Auto cheat codes in general. So I would love to hear from you guys on this one. If you're planning, you know, especially if it is a full $60 premium price release, would you go ahead and pick this one up on the Nintendo Switch? Will you pick it up physically or digitally? And do you think that we're going to get the digital versions maybe earlier, as it does appear that there's some talk and speculation around that happening as soon as November? But it looks like at least we can expect these things to be in store shelves in December, right before the holiday season. So share your thoughts and opinions on Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition in the comments down below. Now, the next thing we have to cover today is Metroid Dread and the incredible sales start that it is seeing. As you know, that this one has a lot of eyeballs on it, as you know, we want to see if the Switch effect can really push Metroid forward into higher sales numbers, as historically these titles just do not sell that well compared to other major Nintendo franchises, which is why we sometimes see Nintendo go entire console generations without actually releasing a new Metroid. And obviously, as a hardcore Metroid fan, and a lot of you guys out there, we want to see that trend change and see Nintendo continue to pump up Samus as a mainline Nintendo character with many installments to come, including obviously Prime 4, and there's even maybe talk about a Prime 1 remake hitting next year, or it could be Prime Trilogy HD. Like, we have to wait and see for all that stuff. But I do want to quickly hop over to Nintendo Everything, where they do a good job typing up essentially what has happened at the initial launch in the UK specifically, because UK is just on it when they come to their sales numbers. Like, we always get that information first, but I will be excited to see the continued progress and more information as we get it from both Japan and the US regions and Australian regions and things like that. So I'll definitely continue to keep you guys updated around this, as it's an exciting one for me to watch. But let's start off by reading what has happened in the UK with the series so far. So UK software sales updated through October 10th, 2021. The latest box software sales numbers have arrived, and the top 10 selling games of the week feature several new titles. FIFA 22 maintains its top spot on last week's sales charts, though its week-on-week sales have dropped by about 58%. Despite this, a slightly smaller launch week than its predecessor is currently on track to sell better overall. Metroid Dread also arrived on October 8th, currently has secured 3rd place on the sales chart, being the fastest selling Metroid title in the UK already. Metroid Dread is also the 5th biggest launch for a Nintendo game this year, behind Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, Monster Hunter Rise, and new Pokemon Snap. So for me, this is just one of those things that's reassuring, as you know, I am loving every minute of Metroid Dread. I actually did an unboxing video of the collector's edition on the channel yesterday, so make sure you check that one out if you guys haven't yet. But I'm loving every single minute of this gameplay, and I just think it deserves to be talked about in the mainstream. And I will tell you guys that this is very reassuring information out of the UK so far, but I will be very excited to continue to watch this develop and see what the other regions of the world are actually doing when it comes to picking up Metroid Dread. And you know, all of those things leading up to the launch, we saw all of the Amazon charts go through the roof, the eShop charts worldwide went through the roof about Metroid Dread going straight to the top, that is. So I'm very excited as a Metroid fan to watch this continue to unfold, and I would love to hear in the comments down below if you guys actually believe that this will be the best-selling Metroid game of the entire series on the Nintendo Switch, or if you think that this will actually be, you know, left out of the mix as far as best-selling, and maybe Prime 1 remains the best-selling Metroid game so far to date in the series history. So make sure you share your thoughts and opinions around Metroid Dread. And then bonus question, you know, how far into the game are you? No spoilers, of course, but just let me know if you're enjoying your playthrough so far and just your overall impressions of the game as a whole so far. Now, the next thing we need to talk about today is actually a major update around a game that I think we all have on our radar. I definitely do, and that is none other than Pokemon Legends Arceus, because there is some new information available now online, official statements from the Pokemon Company, that is actually maybe kind of tempering expectations around this being such a open world game. As you know, when the trailer first dropped, we obviously all saw that comparison to what a Breath of the Wild type of camera pan was when it zoomed out, and it just does appear to be a stab at an open world Pokemon game. game, and that's definitely what I was thinking it would be this whole time. And there's definitely open environments in the game. It's not that it's not an open title, but it is sounding like it'll be a more structured experience, and it might be more akin to something like Monster Hunter Rise than something like Zelda Breath of the Wild. So I want to start off by reading the story that Kotaku put out, as they were the ones who got an official statement for the Pokemon Company. So let's hop over to read that article real quick so we're all on the same page with the information that has been released. Pokemon Legends Arceus is clearly not going to be open world. Update. Since the first trailer for Pokemon Legends Arceus arrived back in February, the game's vast open areas and rolling green hills have drawn comparison to Breath of the Wild. While the idea of a massive open world version of the ancient Sinnoh region filled with Pokemon to play with sounds like it would be amazing, Arceus looks to have more in common with Monster Hunter stories than Legend of Zelda. The Pokemon Company has sent Kotaku a statement confirming the Monster Hunter-esque structure of Pokemon Legends Arceus. In Pokemon Legends Arceus, Jubilife Village will serve as the base for surveying missions. After receiving an assignment or request and preparing for the next excursion, players will set out from the village to study one of the various open areas of the Hisui region. After they finish the survey work, players will need to return once more to prepare for their next task. We look forward to sharing more information about exploring the Hisui region soon. So this is one of those things that I really want to hear from you guys on, because I know there's been a lot of hype around the open world aspect of Legends Arceus, and I think everybody was kind of thinking that, you know, once you get outside of that village, that maybe it is just a huge like Hyrule type of experience that we saw in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it does appear that it is going to be very mission based, you know, or at least you're going to have certain tasks to go out into that big open sandbox to complete, but then you will come back and maybe just go in a different direction. So I will be excited to get more information from the Pokemon Company myself before I make a lot of judgments and predictions on just how open world this game will actually be. So I mean, I guess we don't have full on official confirmation, but it does sound like they are definitely trying to set those expectations that this is not a Zelda Breath of the Wild-esque Pokemon, and it'll be interesting to see if the Pokemon Company tries to tackle that in the future, and maybe this is just an incremental step towards that, or if it's something that, you know, maybe Pokemon open world is not going to be around the corner for the foreseeable future. So again, share your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below on this one, as I do look forward to hearing from you guys on the status and this new update around what Pokemon Legends Arceus may have in store for us when it releases at the end of January in 2022. Now, the last major story I want to share with you guys today is actually some official confirmation from Nintendo of Europe as far as how these Nintendo 64 games will actually be running on the Nintendo Switch, because up to this point, with the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack announcement, a lot of fans were expecting the original versions of the European N64 games to make their way to Nintendo Switch Online service, as that's how it was back in the day. And if you guys don't know, there was actually a big difference in the PAL versions of the games versus the US versions, and it is the hertz or refresh rate, or up to 60 frames per second if you would like to say. In the US, we had a 60 hertz setting for those games, and in PAL it was only a 50 hertz setting. So there is an official statement now from Nintendo around this. I'm sure we're going to be right around the corner from the pricing reveal. I can't imagine it taking any longer than maybe this week or the next week to actually finally be announced. But I want to start off this talking point by reading through VGC's article, as they have a breakdown of exactly what Nintendo has announced and what it means to you. Nintendo Europe confirms Switch's N64 games will run at faster 60 Hz. Plus, some games will be available in PAL format. Nintendo has confirmed that the European Nintendo 64 games set to be added to Nintendo Switch Online service will include the faster 60 Hz versions of each title. When Nintendo announced the N64 games during a Nintendo Direct last month, it appeared to show the PAL 50 Hz versions in its European streams, leading many to suspect that it would include the slower versions of N64 games in certain regions. The PAL versions of the Nintendo 64 games were notorious at the time for running slower than the NTSC games and often having borders at the top and the bottom of the screen. However, in a statement published on Monday, Nintendo of Europe confirmed that the Nintendo 64 games on the Switch will be the 60 Hz versions, with some games like those with multiplayer language options also available in their PAL formats. Nintendo is quoted here saying, "All Nintendo 64 games included with Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack can be played in 60 Hz English language versions." It said select games will also have the option to play the original European PAL version with language options. So to me, this is just a reassuring sign that Nintendo is taking this, you know, expansion pack for Nintendo Switch Online service seriously, and it's good to see them putting in some extra work to make sure that you can play the best possible version of these N64 games, because obviously 50 Hz is not your standard benchmark for games to be played at anymore. And you know, know, the fact that Nintendo's not just leaving them at that 50 hertz version, but actually including multiple versions that I guess there's maybe some reason that you would still want to play the PAL version for language differences and things like that. So it's going to be good to see. I don't know what all games will have that PAL support versus which won't, but you know, at least we have some kind of update as we do get closer to the eventual announcement of the price point. And that's actually something I want to hear from you guys on as well, is what are you willing to pay for this service when it does drop? Because we know to expect some incredible classics. Most notably for me is Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and there's many others that I'm going to play obviously as well, but I cannot wait to replay through those games on the Switch in their original versions. You know, it's gonna be an exciting thing, and while I want remakes of those games one day to come to the Switch, even if they're just the 3DS versions, I would love to see, you know, the higher res versions of those games eventually make their way over. For now, I just can't be more excited to actually go relive those on a Nintendo Switch with a wireless N64 controller. So it is definitely a crazy time to be alive as a Nintendo fan right now. But at this point in the video, guys, I really want to hear all your thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about today when it comes to, you know, the Star Wars combo packs. Are you interested in picking up those games at all? What's your thoughts on GTA Trilogy potentially getting a physical release as soon as December? Then let me know, you know, what you think about Metroid Dread sales so far. Have you picked it up and are you enjoying the game? And then definitely want to hear from you guys on this Pokemon Legends not being necessarily so open world like we thought up to this point. And the big talking point is, what do you think about this update around Nintendo Switch online games, specifically in the European region? And then also, you know, what are you willing to spend on the service? Because I know that's going to be a divisive topic for a lot of people. And bonus question, when do you think we're getting the official announcement from Nintendo? So I do look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments down below, as I do like to get a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.